Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 7th December 2023. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. HARDAN, 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 Haribol, TRSV Nectar, NECTAR, Nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been discussing about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been doing in all my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my previous, present, and future videos. So let us continue with the topic of discussion for today's video. We have been discussing in my past few videos the importance of a term called mind in the life and psyche of a human living entity, whether male or female, in a lifetime in this material world. Mind is supposed to be a very important and perennial ingredient in the psyche of every human living entity. According to Srimad Bhagavad Gita of the Hindu mythology, Lord Krishna has openly said that this life is like that of a chariot with one sole passenger sitting at the backside of the chariot. This person is the spirit soul. There are four horses which are dragging or running along with this chariot and driving this chariot to some destination unknown even to that soul. These four horses are called senses. There is one driver in the driver's seat of that chariot. He or she is known as intelligent, and the main instrument that is driving this chariot is called mind. Mind is the instrument that drives this chariot. So we can very well know how important the position of mind is. Mind is like the engine of a vehicle, a four-wheeler vehicle. If the engine is gone, the vehicle is scrap. Similarly, if the mind is gone, the living entity is scrap. Mind is subtle and its gross representative is a mass of tissue in the gross body of a living entity which is called brain. Brain is situated in the center of the cranium of that particular living entity. Vibrations come from the mind and hit the brain. The brain chooses some vibrations and processes them. By processing those vibrations, the brain extracts some very important or concentrated juice. This brain percolates that juice down in the rest of the gross body of that particular living entity. This particular living entity acts according to the quality, experience, and the capacity of that particular juice percolated down the gross body by the brain. Now, mind is the driving instrument and is very subtle. What do you mean by subtle? Subtle means that which is invisible to the naked eye of a gross body, although it is experienced directly or indirectly by the living entity. What are the three layers of subtle body in a human living entity? These are, which are made up of ether, are the causal body of intelligence and logic, the astral body of mind, feelings, and emotions, and the etheric body of senses made up of five senses, namely sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. Now, vibrations from all these three subtle bodies are transmitted through the mind into the brain of the gross body of a living entity. This particular brain selects some of these vibrations according to the destiny, karma, evolvement, experience, maturity, qualification, education, intelligence, surrounding, atmosphere, thoughts, tastes, preferences, whims, and fantasies of that particular living entity. That is precisely the reason why, because every living entity acts according to the concentrated juice percolated by his or her brain into his or her gross body. There is so much of variety in this society. Every living entity is different in nature. Everyone has different destinies, karmas, surroundings, atmosphere, and so on. Not all are alike in thinking. That is precisely the reason why we have very tiny children, adults, teenagers, middle aged people, old men, unskilled labor, skilled labor, educated people, uneducated people, blue collar job people, white collar job people, ministers, politicians, policemen, soldiers, businessmen, traders, distributors, etc., along with the spiritualists who are saints, monks, rishis, maharishis, sages, and so on. This is the variety provided by this society to humanity so that we may get adjusted to it and act accordingly and build our own individual karma according to our interaction with the variety in the society. Similarly, living entity means both male and female. The thought process of each is very different. Both are equally capable and intelligent, but both have different tastes and preferences. Men like strength, outward going, extroversion, etc. Women prefer beauty, refinement of taste, than other such items which are directly or indirectly connected to the looks, emotions, feelings, and preferences. All this contributes to the variety in the society along with a catalyst called ego. Ego is the catalyst or the cement that joins the super soul, the soul, the three subtle bodies, the gross body, and whatnot to give a coloring to the life and psyche of every living entity. That is precisely the reason why ego is bifurcated or differentiated in three categories. One is called false ego that identifies with the living entity and the body. The body means all four layers of body that envelop the soul. The second ego is called the real ego, where the person forgets that he or she is a living entity. He or she only regards himself or herself as a spirit soul. And the super ego is where that particular person forgets that he or she is either a living entity or an individual spirit soul. He or she thinks that he or she is a part and parcel of the super soul who resides within every atom in this universe, including that particular living entity. Now we know the ingredients that decide on the life, destiny, and karma of every individual living entity. We know about mind. Mind has also been divided into three parts. One is called memory, the other is called subconscious memory, and the third is known as superconscious memory. Memory is only about what we have been doing or experiencing in one particular lifetime. It is about our own destiny, karma, efforts, and kriyamana karma in a particular lifetime. Subconscious memory is a storage of memories of the past births and past suppressed or active whims, fantasies, tastes, preferences, ambition, purpose in life, etc. The superconscious memory is where we remember how once we were actually a spirit soul enveloped by these four bodies of the material world, and we got into a chain of endless births and deaths. This superconscious memory stores the Sanchit karma of a living entity. Sanchit karma is a storage of all unworked karma of a living entity through his or her previous all births. At the same time, the subconscious memory is equipped with prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma is a slice of that sanchit karma that living entity brings along with himself or herself and keeps it as a foundation for his or her present lifetime. At the same time, memory is about kriyamana karma. Kriyamana karma is called free will bestowed upon every living entity, whether male or female, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In kriyamana karma, this particular living entity concentrates on his or her efforts, actions, reactions, etc. in a particular lifetime. This may be or may not be based on his or her prarabdha karma. It may be even independent of this prarabdha karma. Anyway, when this person passes on in a particular lifetime, the unworked karma of that lifetime, regardless of it being from the prarabdha karma or kriyamana karma, is put into one container called agami karma, that is future karma. This container is taken back to the actual storage of unworked karma from various other lifetimes stored in the Sanchit karma. This agami karma is mixed with that unworked karma of that living entity. Thus, the endless chain of birth and death goes on. We have been discussing various case history to authenticate this particular argument about the mind. This mind is considered to be an extremely powerful instrument, so much so that it decides on the evolvement and experience of an individual spirit soul which is sitting in the passenger seat of the chariot called body. Mind is, as mentioned before, the actual engine on which the life of that particular chariot is based. So, when we decide to talk about various case histories, we try to analyze the mind of that particular case history or the protagonist of that particular case history. Today we will talk about one such case history. There was a family whose patriarch was a brilliant mathematician holding the post of a vice president in a railway company called Bengal Nagpur Railways. This particular person was surnamed Ghosh. He had several offsprings. His wife was extremely spiritually inclined. She was a practitioner of a type of meditation called Kriya Yoga. We all know by now that genes of our own parents are passed down the line along with us and our siblings into the future of our own family unit. Now, there was one living entity who happened to be spiritually inclined long back. Long back means that he or she in different lifetimes had meditated upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead and wanted to become spiritually exalted. Now, this person's efforts in spiritualism were either worked in a particular lifetime or they remained partially unworked in a particular lifetime. This unworked karma of that living entity was stored in that particular living entity's Sanchit karma. A slice of this unworked spiritual karma was transferred into a prarabdha karma, which was the foundation for his particular lifetime in this birth. We are going to talk about this particular living entity. This guy, as we know, had a very spiritually inclined prarabdha karma. This guy was born in that particular family which had the matriarch as a very exalted spiritual soul who was practicing Kriya Yoga kind, kind of meditation. This boy was born on 5th January 1893 in a place called Gorakhpur, which is prophetically at the foothills of Himalayas, where various monks of all kinds spent their life meditating on the Supersoul, Brahman, and Supreme Personality of Godhead. We all know by now that Swami Bhaktivedanta of ISKCON has mentioned that in the Indian subcontinent, East is spiritual, West is material, North is meditative, and South is speculative. North in Indian subcontinent means Himalayas. North is meditative. Various spiritualists of all kinds, monks, sages, etc., spend almost all of their lifetime meditating in the Himalayas. This boy was born in Gorakhpur, which is at the foothills of that particular mountain range, into a family where the patriarch was materialistically very successful and the matriarch was spiritually very exalted. The name of the patriarch was Vibhuti Charan Ghosh and the matriarch was Prabha Devi. This boy, because of his birth in that family, was christened Mukund Lal Ghosh. As I had mentioned before, his prarabdha karma had several spiritual germs in it, or seeds of spiritualism had been sown into his psyche thanks to his own mind. It was this mind which drove this living entity into spiritualism birth after birth and death after death. There are several mundane living entities in this society, but this boy, thanks to his karma and destiny, chose to get spiritualist or a spiritually inclined person in some lifetime. It was a result of or the reward for such a spiritual effort that he was born in this exalted family on the foothills of Himalayas. This boy was so spiritually inclined that even as an infant or a baby, he used to get very restless and used to throw childish tantrums into the family household, making the elders wonder what had happened to him. Actually, they could not understand that this boy was actually a spiritualist who found himself caged into this tiny body of a child or a baby or an infant. Actually, this made this particular living entity quite restless and angry. He was very upset because probably he was one person who wanted to meditate on God in the Himalayas, but he was born in the foothills. We shall continue with the story in my next video. This is all I wanted to talk about in this particular video. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular matter. Please give me your own expert views, thoughts, ideas, and opinions so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.